Most people think success should announce itself with trumpets and fanfare. They want everyone to see them climbing, to witness every small victory. But I found that the strongest trees in the forest grew in silence. Nobody applauded the mighty oak when it was just an acorn pushing through the soil. Nobody gave it a standing ovation when it endured its first winter, yet there it stands, magnificent and unshakable. That's what building yourself quietly is all about. It's about understanding that the foundation of extraordinary achievement isn't built in the spotlight but in private discipline. It's about what you do when no one is watching. Let me ask you something. What do you do when no one's looking? Because that's who you really are. That's the person who will determine how far you'll go, how you'll climb, how much you'll achieve. The person you are in private ultimately becomes the person you are in public. I remember meeting a young man years ago who wanted to be successful. He'd talk about it constantly. All his plans, his dreams, his ambitions. Every time I saw him, he had some new announcement about what he was going to do. Always talking, rarely doing. 5 years later, he was still in the same place, still talking about the same dreams. The only thing that had changed was the volume of his voice. Meanwhile, there was another fellow, quiet, unassuming, who never made big proclamations. He just showed up every day. He read his books. He practiced his skills. He saved his money. He improved by small increments, and 5 years later, everyone was suddenly talking about his overnight success. Isn't that fascinating? The loud one stayed still, and the quiet one moved mountains. You see, when you build yourself quietly, you get to focus on the work instead of the recognition. And that's where the real progress happens. I have a philosophy about life that's guided me well. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Most people have that backwards. They work hard at their job but don't invest in themselves. But here's the truth. If you grow yourself, your success will follow naturally. Building yourself quietly means investing in your mind, body, and spirit without needing applause. It means reading books that stretch your thinking when you could be watching television. It means saving when you could be spending. It means exercising discipline when you could be choosing comfort. Let me tell you about the power of incremental improvement. Small disciplines repeated with consistency every day lead to great achievements gained slowly over time. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. That's the miracle of compound interest, not just in your bank account, but in your life. Imagine improving just 1% every day. That doesn't sound impressive, does it? But do you know what happens to that 1% over a year? You end up 37 times better, not 365% better. That's the power of compounding. And it happens so gradually that most people around you won't notice until the evidence becomes too substantial to ignore. Now, let me address something important. Building yourself quietly doesn't mean being invisible or insignificant. It doesn't mean hiding your life. It means focusing on substance over show, depth over display, consistency over commotion. Some people mistakenly believe that building yourself quietly means you shouldn't promote your ideas or share your work. That's not it at all. It means doing the work first, becoming exceptional first, developing the value first, and then letting that value speak for itself. When you have something valuable to offer, you don't need to shout about it. Excellence is its own advertisement. Mastery creates its own publicity. Integrity generates its own opportunities. I've observed that the more successful someone truly is, the less they need to tell you about it. They don't need to convince you of their importance. Their work, their character, their results, these things speak with an authority that words cannot match. Here's another aspect of building yourself quietly, learning to separate yourself from the noise of mass opinion. The majority is almost always wrong about almost everything. If you want to achieve what the majority doesn't have, you must be willing to do what the majority won't do. Most people live their lives by accident. They're like leaves blown about by the winds of circumstance. Building yourself quietly means living by design, not by default. It means taking responsibility for the direction of your life instead of blaming external factors. I remember a conversation I had with my mentor, Mr. Schoaf, many years ago. I was complaining about taxes, the economy, my circumstances, all the usual excuses. And he said something that changed my life forever. Jim, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. Those words hit me like a thunderbolt. I suddenly realized that my focus had been entirely wrong. I was looking outward when I should have been looking inward. I was waiting for conditions to change when I should have been working on myself. That's the essence of building yourself quietly, taking full responsibility for your growth regardless of external conditions. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle whatever life throws at you, not hoping that life will throw you easier challenges. Let me tell you about the seasons of life because understanding them is crucial to building yourself correctly. Life is not just one long summer where everything grows easily. There are winters of difficulty, springs of opportunity, summers of growth, and autumns of harvest. Most people want to skip the difficult seasons. They want to go straight from planting to harvesting. But that's not how life works. You cannot escape the seasons, you can only prepare for them. And preparation happens quietly, consistently, daily. Winter is the season of preparation. It's when you study, plan, reflect, and strengthen yourself for what's to come. Most people waste their winters complaining about the cold instead of using the time to prepare for spring. Don't make that mistake. Spring is the season of opportunity and action. When opportunities bloom all around you, you must be ready to act decisively. But you can only seize spring's opportunities if you prepare during winter. Summer is when you work and persevere despite the heat. It's when your discipline is tested. Many people start things in spring but abandon them in summer when the work gets hard. Building yourself quietly means having the fortitude to persist when others quit. And autumn is the season of harvest and reward. This is when you reap what you've sown. But the size of your harvest depends entirely on what you did in the previous seasons. You cannot cheat this process. The beauty of building yourself quietly is that you're always preparing for the next season while making the most of the current one. You're always becoming stronger, wiser, more capable, not for show, but for substance. Let me share with you 5 areas where quiet building creates extraordinary results. First, your mind. The books you read, the conversations you have, the questions you ask, the observations you make, these shape your thinking, and your thinking shapes your life. Most people let their minds grow stagnant after formal education ends. Don't be most people. I recommend reading at least 30 minutes every day, not just anything, books that challenge you, that introduce you to new ideas, that help you understand human nature and the laws of success. A book can change your life. It changed mine. For a few dollars, you can tap into the wisdom of someone who spent 20 years figuring something out. What a bargain. Second, your health. Your body is the vessel that carries your dreams. Neglect it and you limit everything else you hope to achieve. Take care of it quietly, consistently, without needing an audience or validation. Eat a little better, move a little more, rest a little deeper. Not for appearances, but for capacity. Third, your finances. Most financial failures come from buying things you don't need with money. You don't have to impress people you don't even like. Financial independence starts with financial discipline, saving a portion of what you earn, investing wisely, living below your means, not to be frugal, but to be free. I suggest saving at least 10% of your income. Not because 10% is magical, but because it represents discipline. And remember, it's not what you make that determines your financial future, it's what you keep and how you invest it. Fourth, your relationships. The quality of your life is largely determined by the quality of your relationships. Build them quietly through genuine interest in others, through keeping your word, through being the kind of friend you wish you had. Relationships built on genuine character last. Those built on utility or convenience don't. Fifth, your character. In a world where many are willing to compromise their integrity for short-term gain, character becomes an increasingly rare and valuable asset. Build your character not because others are watching, but because you are watching yourself. Your self-respect is worth more than any external validation. Now, let me address a question that might be on your mind. How long should I build quietly before I see results? That's like asking how long you need to plant seeds before you see a forest. The answer depends on what you're building, how consistently you're working, and the seasons you're moving through. Some results come quickly. You read a book and immediately gain a valuable insight. Other results take decades. You invest consistently and eventually achieve financial independence. The key is to fall in love with the process, not just the outcome. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years. This misunderstanding leads to frustration in the short term and missed opportunities in the long term. Patience combined with persistence is an unstoppable force. I've seen people give up just before their breakthrough moment. They worked, they built, they prepared, but they couldn't sustain their faith in the unseen results that were just around the corner. Don't let that happen to you. The last chapter of your story hasn't been written yet. Here's another important aspect of building yourself quietly, learning to ignore both criticism and praise. Both can be distractions from the real work. Criticism often comes from those who have given up on their own dreams and can't bear to see you pursuing yours. It comes from those who confuse your patience with lack of progress, your focus with lack of vision, your quiet confidence with lack of ambition. Praise, while more pleasant, can be equally dangerous. It can make you complacent. It can shift your focus from internal standards to external validation. Many promising journeys have been cut short by premature celebration. The antidote to both is to develop your own scorecard, to measure yourself against your own standards, to compete primarily with who you were yesterday, not with others. Let me tell you why most people struggle with building themselves quietly. It requires delayed gratification in an instant gratification world. It requires faith when doubt is easier. It requires discipline when distraction is everywhere. We live in a culture that celebrates overnight success and ignores the years of preparation that made it possible. We see the gold medal moment but miss the thousands of hours of training. We notice the promotion but overlook the late nights of preparation that earned it. This creates a dangerous illusion that success should come quickly, that growth should be constant, that results should be immediate. None of that is true. Real growth happens in spurts and plateaus. You'll work for weeks seeing little progress, then suddenly make a breakthrough. You'll study for months with no obvious benefit, then solve a problem in an instant with your accumulated knowledge. The plateaus are where most people quit. They mistake a temporary pause in visible progress for a permanent condition. But those who build themselves quietly understand that plateaus are not stop signs, they're building blocks. They're where your conscious learning becomes unconscious mastery. I want to talk about something that's rarely discussed in success literature, the power of silence itself. In a world full of noise, silence has become a competitive advantage. Silence gives you space to think, to reflect, to connect dots, to hear your own intuition. Some of your best ideas, your most powerful insights, your clearest decisions, they don't come when you're talking or consuming information. They come in moments of quiet. Building yourself quietly means creating these spaces in your life. It means setting aside time for reflection. It means being comfortable with your own thoughts. It means developing the habit of deep work without constant interruption. Most people are afraid of silence. They fill every moment with noise, social media, television, pointless conversation, busy work. Then they wonder why they can't hear the still, small voice of wisdom within them. Don't make that mistake. Embrace silence as a tool for growth. Use it to process what you've learned, to integrate your experiences, to plan your next moves. Another crucial element of building yourself quietly is handling failure productively. Everyone fails. The difference is what you do with those failures. Most people try to hide their failures. They're embarrassed by them. They make excuses for them. They let failures define them. But those who build themselves successfully see failures differently, as feedback, as education, as necessary steps on the path to mastery. I've failed many times. I've made poor investments. I've launched products that nobody wanted. I've given speeches that fell flat. But each failure taught me something that success never could. And because I was building quietly, focused on growth rather than appearances, I could use those failures productively rather than defensively. When you fail, and you will, don't waste energy trying to hide it or explain it away. Instead, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? How can I use this to become better? Then make the necessary adjustments and continue building. This brings me to another important point. Building yourself quietly requires both ambition and humility, a rare combination. Ambition without humility leads to arrogance. Humility without ambition leads to mediocrity. Ambition gives you the drive to pursue excellence, to set high standards, to work when others rest. Humility gives you the wisdom to learn from anyone, to acknowledge your mistakes, to remain teachable regardless of your achievements. Most people lean too far in one direction. They're either so humble they never stretch themselves, or so ambitious they stop learning. The master builder maintains both, hungry for growth yet humble enough to receive it from any source. I've met successful people in many fields, and the best of them have this quality. They're simultaneously confident in their abilities and aware of how much they still don't know. They're proud of their accomplishments, but more interested in their next challenge than their past victories. This combination creates a powerful foundation for quiet building. It keeps you moving forward without the brittleness of ego. It helps you weather criticism without being destroyed by it. It allows you to celebrate progress without becoming complacent. Let me address something that holds many people back from building themselves effectively, the need for perfect conditions. They're waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect circumstances. And while they wait, life passes them by. The truth is, conditions are never perfect. There's always some challenge, some obstacle, some reason to postpone improvement. Those who build themselves successfully don't wait for ideal conditions. They create progress with whatever they have, wherever they are. If you can't afford the best education, use the library. If you can't find a mentor, read biographies. If you don't have an hour a day to exercise, use the 15 minutes you do have. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. This resourcefulness is a hallmark of quiet builders. They don't make excuses, they make progress. They don't complain about what they lack, they leverage what they have. They don't wait for permission, they take initiative. I remember talking to a successful entrepreneur who started his business with almost nothing. No connections, no capital, no fancy education. When I asked him how he overcame these disadvantages, he said something profound. I didn't see them as disadvantages. I saw them as constraints that forced me to be creative. My lack of resources became my greatest resource because it made me think differently. That's the mindset of someone who understands how to build quietly and effectively. They turn limitations into launching pads. They use resistance as a strengthening force. Now, I want to talk about something subtle but significant, the relationship between who you are and what you attract. One of the least understood principles of success is that you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Many people focus on what they want, the better job, the ideal relationship, the financial freedom, without realizing that these things are attracted not by want but by worth. Your value in the marketplace is determined by the value you bring to the marketplace. Building yourself quietly means focusing on becoming the kind of person who deserves the things you desire. It means developing the skills, the character, the mindset that naturally attracts opportunity. If you want a better job, become more valuable where you are. If you want better relationships, become a better friend. If you want more income, solve bigger problems. The external rewards you seek are reflections of your internal development. This principle explains why some people seem to have all the luck while others constantly struggle. It's not luck, it's alignment. When who you are aligns with what you seek, opportunities appear almost magically. But this alignment doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intentional, consistent, quiet building. Let me share with you 5 disciplines that will accelerate your growth as you build yourself quietly. The first discipline is daily learning. Commit to learning something new every day, not just information, but insight. Information without application is merely entertainment. Seek knowledge you can use, wisdom you can apply, ideas you can test. The second discipline is thoughtful reflection. Take time regularly, daily if possible, to think about what you're learning and experiencing. Ask yourself powerful questions. What went well today? What could I have done better? What did I learn? How can I apply that tomorrow? The third discipline is purposeful association. Be intentional about who you spend time with. You're affected by your environment more than you realize. Seek out people who are where you want to be, who challenge you to grow, who support your highest ambitions. The fourth discipline is courageous action. Knowledge without action has no power. Reflection without implementation brings no change. Take consistent, courageous action on what you're learning. Be willing to feel uncomfortable. Be willing to make mistakes. Be willing to look foolish temporarily in service of your long-term growth. The fifth discipline is persistent adaptation. Be willing to adjust your approach based on results. What got you here won't get you there. The strategies that worked at one level may not work at the next. Stay flexible in your methods while remaining firm in your purpose. These 5 disciplines, practiced consistently over time, will transform you from the inside out. And that's what building yourself quietly is ultimately about, transformation, not just information. Let me tell you about a pattern I've observed in those who build themselves most successfully. They understand the difference between ends and means, between principles and methods, between fundamentals and tactics. Principles are timeless, tactics are temporary. Fundamentals endure, techniques evolve. Those who build themselves on unchanging principles can adapt to changing circumstances without losing their foundation. For example, the principle of adding value is timeless. How you add value might change dramatically with technology, with market shifts, with cultural evolution. If you understand the principle, you can adapt your methods. If you only understand the method, you'll become obsolete when conditions change. This distinction between principles and methods gives quiet builders tremendous adaptability. They don't get attached to particular ways of doing things. They remain committed to fundamental truths while staying flexible about how to apply them. In your own building process, seek to understand the principles behind the practices. Ask why something works, not just how. Look for patterns across different domains. The deeper your understanding of fundamentals, the more innovative you can be in their application. Now, let me address something that causes unnecessary suffering for many people on their growth journey: comparison. We live in an age where others' highlight reels are constantly visible. Social media shows us carefully curated images of success from around the world. It's easy to fall into the trap of measuring your behind the scenes against someone else's highlight reel. Building yourself quietly requires developing immunity to unhealthy comparison. It means recognizing that each person's journey is unique, that timing differs, that circumstances vary, that purposes diverge. The only productive comparison is with your former self. Are you wiser than you were a year ago? Are you more skilled? Are you more disciplined? Are you more compassionate? These are the metrics that matter. When you find yourself falling into comparison, redirect your attention to your own path. Remember that what others show publicly is rarely the full story. Remember that overnight success is usually the result of years of invisible effort. Remember that your journey is valuable not because it resembles someone else's, but because it's authentically yours. Let me share something personal. There have been times in my own life when I fell into the comparison trap. I'd see others achieving more, earning more, receiving more recognition, and for a while it would disturb my peace. It would make me question my path. But then I'd remember a simple truth. We're all running different races. We have different starting points, different obstacles, different purposes. The only meaningful measure is whether I'm running my race well, whether I'm becoming who I'm capable of becoming. This perspective brings freedom. It allows you to celebrate other successes without diminishing your own. It helps you learn from others without trying to duplicate their path exactly. It keeps your focus where it belongs, on your own quiet, consistent building. Another crucial aspect of building yourself quietly is developing patience with the process. Most worthwhile achievements take time, often more time than we initially expect. Impatience causes people to abandon promising paths just before they would have yielded results. I've seen this pattern repeatedly. Someone starts building a skill, a business, a relationship. They work diligently for a while, but when results don't come as quickly as they hope, they conclude that the path itself is flawed. So they abandon it and start something new, only to repeat the cycle. What they don't understand is that success often follows a logarithmic rather than a linear pattern. You work and work, seemingly making little progress. Then suddenly you reach a tipping point where all that accumulated effort pays off dramatically. If you're doing the right things consistently, trust the process. Don't let impatience cheat you out of the rewards that await those who persist. The oak tree grows slowly, but it grows strong. Be like the oak, not like the weed that sprouts quickly but has no depth. This patience isn't passive waiting, it's active perseverance. It's continuing to do the right things even when you don't see immediate results. It's trusting the principles enough to give them time to work. It's understanding that meaningful growth rarely happens overnight. Let me tell you about something that few people recognize: the power of sequencing in personal development. There's a natural order to building yourself effectively. And when you honor that order, progress accelerates dramatically. For example, wisdom generally precedes achievement. Character precedes lasting success. Discipline precedes freedom. Mastery of fundamentals precedes innovation. When you try to reverse this natural sequence, your building becomes unstable. Many people want achievement before they develop wisdom to handle it. They want success before they develop character to sustain it. They want freedom before they develop discipline to structure it. They want to innovate before they master fundamentals. This backward approach leads to problems: success that destroys, freedom that enslaves, innovation that fails. As you build yourself quietly, pay attention to the proper sequence of development. Don't rush to the advanced before you've mastered the basic. Don't seek the rewards before you've developed the capacity to handle them. Honor the natural progression and your building will be sound. This principle of sequencing explains why some people can handle success while others are destroyed by it, why some can manage wealth while others squander it, why some can use power constructively while others abuse it. The difference isn't in the external circumstances, but in the internal preparation, the quiet building that precedes the visible achievement. I want to address a question that might be bothering some of you. If I'm building quietly, how will opportunities find me? Don't I need to promote myself to be discovered? This concern reflects a misunderstanding of how opportunity really works. True opportunities don't come primarily through self-promotion, but through value creation. When you consistently create exceptional value through your work, your character, your ideas, your service, word spreads naturally. The right people notice. I'm not suggesting that you should hide your light or never share your work. I'm suggesting that your focus should be on making your light brighter, your work better. Quality has a voice that speaks louder than promotion ever could. Think about the products or services you personally recommend to others. Do you recommend them because their marketing was clever or because their value was exceptional? Most likely it's the latter. The same principle applies to you as a person. Become exceptional and acknowledgement will follow naturally. This approach requires faith. Faith that excellence is still recognized, that substance still matters, that value still speaks. In a world obsessed with image, This faith can be tested, but time consistently vindicates those who choose depth over display, substance over show. Let me share with you 6 questions that can guide your quiet building process. First, what am I becoming? Not just what am I achieving or acquiring, but who am I becoming as a person? This question keeps your focus on internal development rather than external acquisition. Second, what problems am I solving? Your value is directly proportional to the problems you solve. As you develop yourself, look for ways to solve bigger problems, help more people, create more value. Third, what ideas am I exposing myself to? Your mind is shaped by the ideas you encounter. Seek out ideas that challenge you, that expand your thinking, that expose you to different perspectives. Fourth, who am I spending time with? Your associations shape you more than you realize. Spend time with people who are where you want to be, who inspire you to grow, who hold high standards. Fifth, what disciplines am I practicing daily? Your daily habits create your destiny. Small disciplines, practiced consistently, lead to massive results over time. 6, what am I contributing? A life focused solely on self-improvement eventually becomes empty. Find ways to contribute, to add value to others, to make a difference with what you're learning. These questions reflected upon regularly will keep your building process balanced, purposeful, and productive. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a perspective that has guided me for decades. Success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. This simple shift in thinking changes everything. When you understand that success is attracted rather than pursued, you stop chasing and start building. You stop worrying about looking successful and start becoming valuable. You stop focusing on what you can get and start focusing on what you can give, what you can become, what you can contribute. Building yourself quietly isn't about hiding your light. It's about making sure your light is genuine. It's not about avoiding recognition. It's about ensuring you deserve whatever recognition comes your way. It's not about false modesty. It's about true substance. The world doesn't need more people pretending to be extraordinary. It needs more people quietly becoming extraordinary. It doesn't need more noise. It needs more value. It doesn't need more show. It needs more substance. So let me challenge you for the next 90 days. Focus relentlessly on building yourself. Read the books you've been putting off. Master the skills you've been neglecting. Strengthen the disciplines you've been avoiding. Do it quietly, consistently, excellently. Don't announce your intentions to the world. Don't seek validation for your efforts. Don't expect applause for doing what you should have been doing all along. Just build day after day with patience and persistence. At the end of those 90 days, you won't need to tell anyone how you've changed. They'll notice. Your work will speak for itself. Your character will announce itself. Your value will become evident. And that, my friends, is the power of building yourself quietly. It's not flashy, but it's transformative. It's not quick, but it's lasting. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Remember, it's not what happens to you that determines your future, it's what you become. And becoming happens in those quiet moments when no one is watching, but you're working, learning, growing, developing. So go build yourself. Do it with integrity. Do it with intensity. Do it with intelligence. But above all, do it with consistency. For in the end, it's not the grand gestures that create an extraordinary life, but the small disciplines practiced faithfully day after day. Thank you for your time today. I hope these ideas serve you well on your journey. Now go build something remarkable, starting with yourself.